Welcome to Beans and Breakdowns, a podcast dedicated to bridging the gap between specialty coffee and the heavy music community. On this episode of the podcast, I'm joined by Trey Pemberton, guitarist of the Texas death metal band Creeping Death. I've been a Creeping Death fan for a while now, and it was such a pleasure to be able to sit down with Trey and talk about what's been going on with them this past year. So grab a fresh cup of coffee and wake the fuck up! What's going on, Caffeinated Crew? I'm joined today by Trey from the band Creeping Death. Trey, what's going on, man?
What's up?
I know that you're not much of a coffee person. We have established that, but are you drinking anything on your side? I have to ask.
I actually just I have a Snapple. I have a peach tea Snapple. That's what I got on me right now.
It's nice. Peach tea is always solid.
Yeah, I'm a big peach guy. I like peach.
But you're from Texas. You can't be a peach guy. You got to be from Georgia to be the peach guy.
I just like good flavors, man. I'm not going to be regional about good flavors, you know? I like apricots and stuff, and apples, cherries. That's from like other places.
I don't even know where the fuck cherries are from.
I think Washington. I'm pretty sure like it's like they're real big up in like Washington, like PNW area.
Because they grow in the cold, I think. Don't they grow? They don't grow in like
I think so.
Hot.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Somebody fact check me on that.
You got to add us at Beans and Breakdowns and hit Trey up on Instagram. I'm drinking a coffee from Saint Henri. It's like a kind of a bigger coffee roaster in Montreal. It's their holiday blend is called, I'm going to butcher this, Les Carillons, because it's in French. And
Les Carillons.
Les Carillons.
There you go.
I've taken a few. It's a constant battle being from the southern part of the United States and trying to speak French. But this is our holiday. You ain't joking. I had to adjust my accent a little bit when I moved up here. But yeah.
Sorry, I'll stop interrupting.
No, you good. This is a double Ethiopian. It's a natural and a washed Ethiopian coffee blended together to perfection. Really good cacao notes, and it's a little bit floral. So really good for the holidays. I'm getting it a bit late, but whatever. Don't judge me. So there's a little bit of coffee talk for my coffee fans out there. We're going to skip a little bit of that today. I kind of adjusted the questions a little bit. I know that on stage, especially in a lot of the show photos, you're wearing some vintage sportswear. I know you're a sports guy. What is your prized sportswear collection piece? Like what's the one that you keep in the case?
Oof. See, I'm a big proponent of like, if I own it, then I want to like wear it and like show it off. So I don't really like put any of them like super, like away, like I'll wear it. But I have like an Ohio State jersey from like the 1990s that was like one of my parents that they found like, I don't even know. They're like, oh, wow, this is old. This is like, I can't believe this is still like wearable. I was like, give me. So it's like kind of like this vintage, like 1990s, like Ohio State football jersey that I have that I'll wear sometimes. And that's pretty sick. I recently got a Browns jersey too. My mom's from Ohio. So all my football, she's actually from Columbus.
Okay.
But she's a big Browns fan. And unfortunately, I took after her team. But I was screwed either way because my dad's a Jets fan. So it's like,
oh, you're fucked. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. At least Cleveland like has like a sort of a toughness about it. New York just like he just whines. Like everything is just whiny about the Jets. So that and the Giants, they just whine. They just complain. But yeah.
At least the Browns know the reality of their situation.
Exactly. It's like Cleveland knows it's Cleveland, you know. It's like everybody knows kind of what to expect, and anything other than that is like, hey, that's kind of cool. So, but yeah, my teams are random because I moved around a lot as a kid. I was born in California, but my parents they met in the military. My dad was an officer in the Navy. And so I moved around a fuck ton, like as a kid. So I basically just took their teams. And then for basketball, I like the Spurs because we got season tickets before they were good. And so they just always took me to Spurs games. And they were like, okay, yeah, cool. I guess we'll be Spurs fans because my dad is a Knicks fan. And again, the Knicks sucks. And my mom didn't really like basketball. So it's like, yeah, this is cool. These games are fun. It's like they basically got courtside seats for nothing because like they were so horrible. And then they drafted Tim Duncan and they got good. And then that was the year we actually moved away from San Antonio.
Oh,
and
man.
Then but we've been Spurs fans pretty much ever since. So that's it for basketball. And then for baseball, I'm a Yankees fan, but my dad's a Mets fan. And the way that happened is that like when I was watching baseball as a kid, he would always have all the New York teams on no matter what.
Right.
And I remember, I don't know, maybe I was just being a smart ass, but like he would root for the Mets and then they were playing, I think they might've been playing in the World Series even. And he was rooting really hard for the Mets. And I just thought it was so funny as a little kid to like start rooting for the Yankees and it just kind of never stopped. So that's kind of how just really trolling my dad.
Yeah, that's
kind of how I became. It really is. I guess I was a petty child.
Aren't we all? I'm still a petty child. I know that you just recently, a few months ago, got an ESP endorsement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that was damn. Now that at this point, it's been about a year. That was like October of like 2020.
Oh shit.
Yeah, time is a flat circle and like shit is just moving.
It felt like a few months ago.
I know. It's like you blink and it's like, oh, 2 years of your life have gone by. Oh shit. Okay, cool.
What has ESP been your go-to for guitars?
The first guitar I ever owned was like, I still have it. It's like a shitty little Epiphone, Les Paul 2 or whatever. And then my first guitar that I bought and played live was actually a Jackson Kelly. But it was like restored, like my friend sort of put it together and he did like a good job, but since it was like sort of hand put together, there was just some issues here and there. Right. So I just kind of got tired of like dealing with little minutia here and there. So eventually I just got a brand new guitar and it was an ESP. I liked them because they were like light. They played nice. Like it was just like comfortable. Like that's my main thing. It's just like, I want to be comfortable whether I'm sitting or standing and like, it wasn't hurting to like, cause that is another thing was like the Kelly, I love those guitars, especially like the upper level ones. They're like much better made than the lower level ones like that I had. And they're not as like heavy, but I mean, they're still a little heavier than my guitar. And I had a problem with the strap was like digging into my like neck. And I was like, damn, this is kind of annoying. So that was another factor. It's just like, I'm a big proponent of like comfort, as you can see of me just lounging in this hoodie.
In the hoodie.
Yeah. So like I'm constantly just about being comfortable more than anything. So as long as they have like a guitar style that I like, that's like, I think it looks cool, which they did with the EX, you can't really go wrong with the Explorer style. And it was comfortable to play both ways. And I was like, it sounded good. It had the EMGs just stock in it. And I mean, like, you can always drop something, whatever, Seymour Duncans and stuff. Because I have before, I've switched my pickups out. But just like playing live with my setup in 6505, it's just like easier. It's just like everything just like works pretty seamlessly. And it's just very easy, as we were talking about earlier with the me refusing to change from iPhone because of the operating system. Like I just like, it's just gotta be easy, man. Like I just try to make my life easier.
That's right. Automate your life.
Yeah, I'm one of these people that all these fucking like Joe Rogan fans hate because they're like, oh, everything's just automated and blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, yeah, fucking make me a drone. I fucking don't care. This shit sucks.
I want to be a sheep. Like, please.
Yeah. Bad bitch. I don't give a fuck.
Did you change the pickups in your EX, or what? Are you just rolling stock?
So I did. I had Valhalla pickups at first, and they sounded sick. Like honestly, they're pretty badass. They're these really really hot pickups. Some of the dudes in what is that band? That band Graveview from Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like do Valhalla pickups, and they do great work. It's like this really hot, like heavy pickup, and it makes like the sickest tones. Like sometimes what I was running into though, like live, is that when you're playing like variable size stages, is that sometimes it would be like too hot for like their monitor setup, and it was just screech. It would just like make feedback like the whole time, no matter what I did with my noise gate or whatever. It was just like making feedback. So that's kind of why I went back to the EFG. It's just a little bit easier to tame. But if you're like able to like tame that like beast, it's a hell of a pickup. I really like it, and the tones it makes. It's just again trying to make my life easier. Trying not to give the fans permanent hearing damage from my high pitched squeals from my feedback. So I was like, okay, let's just switch back.
What else goes into your tone? I know you play 6505. Is there any pedal that you would like tote as the creeping death sound?
There's like two actually. So basically I just use a Tube Screamer and a DS1, and like that's pretty much it. I have like a MXR carbon copy for little just effects, solos, dive bomb stuff, and then I also have a Wazoo Craft Dimension C chorus pedal that I also use for just effects. Then of course just a tuner and a noise suppressor. So I just keep it like fairly lean. I'm starting to add like slightly more pedals, just like effects pedals, to just kind of play around with the tones and sounds, just to kind of have fun, see what you can kind of like make, and also still be like metal and death metal at the same time. I always think that's really fun. But yeah, I guess the tone would just be like 6505 and then DS1 Tube Screamer. Really just uses like the Tube Screamer just kind of tightens everything up, and then the DS1 kind of makes the tone, it doesn't make the tone, but it makes it a little bit muddier. But the the Tube Screamer clears it up so it's not like unintelligible. And then the 6505 is just like obviously just the GOAT as far as like high distortion amps. It's just like
machine.
Yeah, you just plug it in and it works. So it's easy to find like a blank slate tone. I just kind of I scoot the mids a little bit, but like not too much like people would probably think. I still have them probably a little bit higher than maybe normal death metal, but they're still pretty scooped compared to the rest of it. And then high gain, and that's just kind of how it works. And then I have a orange cab as well.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of times on tour, you just kind of you share with people and you play whatever is there. So that's again another reason why I like the 6505, because you can play out of any cab and pretty much what it's going to sound like.
Exactly. Yeah. The 6505, like you said, it's got to be the GOAT, if not like PV in general. 5150 block letters are always a great sound as well. Yeah, like the only amp I would say that is like maybe like better, and it's only better just for the actual sound, not for like the durability, is just like the JCM amps. Like if like the tone from like just a nice JCM 800 is just like chef's kiss, you know what I mean? But like those things are so like they're like I don't know, they're finicky and they're fragile, and for me I'm very like not clumsy, but
I'd be bumping shit sometimes, and I don't want to have to worry about taking it on the road, and you hit bumps, and I mean, even on this last tour, our trailer came off the hitch.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, but luckily it was like connected still with the chain.
Yeah.
So it was just like bobbing around, and we were able to pull over and get it back on. But yeah, like shit like that happens. Something bobbles around too much with your JCM, and shit, you might be taking it to the shop for 3 months. So
yeah, that's some bullshit right there.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Creeping Death's music. Edge of Existence dropped very recently.
Yeah, it was October 8th.
Yes.
I think. Yeah, 2021, which is weird, but we have to say that now because it's 2022.
Yeah, it's like I'm still getting used. I still feel like we're in 2020. That's why I thought the ESP endorsement was a few months ago.
It fucked me. I was at practice the other day, and I was like, yo, 2019 is 3 years ago. Like January 2019 was 3 years ago. And everyone was like, fuck off. Like, don't say that.
Well, it's still like in my head, because I remember right before, and I know you guys like were on a tour and had to drive cross country when everything shut down in 2020.
Dude, so we were actually lucky. We actually finished off the tour in Austin. So it was the Austin date, and then we were supposed to meet back up with the tour after about a week because we had just played the West Coast with Terror and Dare and the Warriors. Mm-hmm. So it was like radius clause that we couldn't play the West Coast again. So we were going to sit out a week and then meet back up in like Kansas or something like that. But obviously everything shut down. But like the last show that we played, when everything was quote unquote normal, even though I remember everything was sort of like, people were like, okay, like this is sort of starting to get like, feel kind of weird. And then it was like that last show. And then literally that next day, it was just like, everything's shutting down.
Yeah. And
then it was like, oh shit. But yeah, I know that the Acacia Strain, they had to drive all the way across the country. Fueling Mouth, they had to drive all the way across the country. Chamber, they had to drive pretty much across the country, but Nashville is like not as far as Boston or, I don't know where everyone in the Acacia Strain lives. They're all spread out. So I'm sure that was, yeah. And I know a few of them live in like North Carolina. Like they're pretty spread out now, I think. So like, I'm sure that was a whole ordeal getting everybody like back home and dealing with all that. So yeah, that was crazy. Like that still feels like it was like, yeah, like you said, pretty much like last year. Like if you asked me what was last year, I was like, oh yeah, my tour got canceled last year. It's like, no, dude, that was like coming up on 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah. Fuck, man. Time is so weird how time is working now. Like people are like, we'll get back to normal. It's like, I don't think we know what normal is anymore.
Yeah. It's like normal is completely subjective at this point. And it's just like, normal is just like what we have to do to basically like not get thrown in the meat grinder by our fucking federal government. That's what our normal is. So Edge of Existence. Yes.
Yeah. So you guys released that with the video.
Yes. The whole thing came out October 8th. I think the video dropped in sometime in August. Mm-hmm. So we actually, again, tying it back to Georgia, we've actually filmed that in Atlanta.
Really?
We couldn't we were trying to figure out a deal to get like a music video done, but it just wasn't happening in Texas. Like we just couldn't find somebody like to do it at the level we wanted, at basically our price level. So we were able to find someone to do it, but he was like, I'm here in Georgia, and we were like, oh, we can just road trip. Because this was still, I guess this was 2021, but it was like still shows hadn't come back yet. So we hadn't really done much thing. So we were like, yeah, let's just road trip. Let's take the van and we'll go to Georgia and, film this thing. And it was pretty cool. It was sick. We filmed it actually in this lot where they film like different movies and TV series and stuff. because I guess they film a lot of shit in Georgia, which I didn't know. I guess, yeah. So apparently they filmed The Walking Dead. Lincoln, I think, said like episode 4 on season 1. It's like you can see the steel girder thing that is behind our music video. Apparently he's like, oh yeah, you could totally see it in that one. It's like, they totally filmed an episode there. And I was like, oh shit, that's crazy. But yeah, it was cool. The guys were great. We had a lot of fun. My only complaint, it was hot. It was very hot.
Welcome to Georgia.
Yeah.
Well, I know Texas is hot, but we have humid hot.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was like the high was only 84, but like when the sun was hitting you, it just felt like your skin was baking. It was like, it was ridiculous. But then we released that in August, and it's like those songs, we wrote them, basically during the pandemic, because obviously everything shut down.
Right.
We were planning on touring off of Wretched Illusions for at least the rest of the year. So we didn't have anything written in the bank. So we just kind of came together. We had our own private jam space. So when everything was really uncertain, we felt pretty comfortable, especially since we were like on tour together during like a lot of it. Right. We felt comfortable enough like getting together in our own jam space and, writing some stuff. So it was nice because it was like everything was really shitty and we could kind of, band together and use it as a time to kind of escape. So that was cool. And we wrote like a bunch of other songs as well. But we didn't want to release an LP and not be able to like tour or do anything on it. So we decided, okay, we'll do this EP and release, we'll record another couple songs and songs that we like and that people request and stuff like that. And just so we can kind of bring them back, bring new life into them and stuff. And and it worked out, I think. And the timing of it kind of worked out because every touring sort of came back right around the same time as like it came out. So that kind of like helped the tour and everything. And the responses have been great to it. And hopefully sometime, I'm not sure when, but hopefully next year, or not next year, this year, sometime this year. Yeah, I know, this time thing, dude, fuck. Hopefully, I'm not sure when, but sometime this year, we'll record an LP, like basically the rest of the songs in the session that we wrote the same EP songs in. So hopefully we can get that done sometime within the first half of this year. But, we'll see. Time, like, shit happens. So it's hard to tell with everything in flux, just like life and with everything. So who knows? For sure.
I know y'all recorded that with Ryan Bram.
Yeah. It was great. In Home Record Studios in Arizona. Our plan is to record the LP with him as well. So, just continuity's sake. And also just, we felt like if we had more time, we could have made it even like better, and we'll have much more time to record an LP with him too, because he has a new studio that we can like actually like stay in and stuff. So it'll be sick whenever we can get that done. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We can spend some more time on tones and spend some more time on, all sorts of stuff like that.
Drum sounds.
Yeah,
I'm a drummer, like first and foremost. So I love like picking people's brain about drum sounds in the studio.
Oh, I'm actually a drummer first too. That was my first instrument, and I picked up guitar second. But yeah, Lincoln's got great. His drums are tuned impeccably, and he's got these what does he have? Ludwig butcher blocks, and they sound so good.
Wait, his whole kit is butcher block?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Dude, it's badass, and it sounds amazing. And I think his kick is a 14 by 20. I don't know if it's 22 or 24. I can't remember. But it's punchy as hell. It sounds great. But yeah, just going over everything. It's like, I don't really mind listening to that, because I'm like, oh no, tune the snare this way or like, this, but he's pretty meticulous himself. So usually he would be more meticulous than even I would have been, so it works out. But yeah, I don't mind. Like I'm a nerd. I like tinkering with stuff on like tones and all sorts of stuff. I've gotten better at like my ear. When I first started playing guitar, since I was a drummer, I'm used to hearing those kind of tones, but like the audio frequency waves of like, guitars is like way different. And now I'm getting a little bit more trained to that. So I'm excited to like get in the studio and sort of work with Ryan and try to get some cool shit like that too.
Yeah, that EP it sounds really great. Like it does sound a little bit different production wise, because I know in the past y'all been recording with Daniel, which he did great on the first full length and everything like that. But I think thank you. Like production on this one is definitely like an evolution in y'all's sounding really, really great. The mastering sounds good. So
thank you.
I'm looking forward to another LP coming out.
Yes, thank you so much. Brad Boatwright did the mastering for that one from Audio Siege. So he works with Ryan a lot apparently. So it was again continuity. I like when things fit, and it just fit. It's so I'm looking forward. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. Again, Ryan's really creative, and he's got a really good ear too, and he's got some really nice gear. So we can really play around and have some fun with it.
Definitely. I do have a question about being from the Dallas hardcore scene. Okay. I know that you guys are all pretty much hardcore kids that started writing death metal, like kind of for fun on the side.
Yeah.
What has been kind of the advantage of approaching death metal from a hardcore mindset? I know that this is something that even Gatecreeper and a lot of the death metal bands that have been getting big, like on Maggot Stomp and stuff like that. What kind of do you see approaching death metal from that mindset as opposed to coming from like a metal background?
I think for one with hardcore, I think there's a little bit more emphasis on just the energy of the song in general, just the momentum of the song, not necessarily as much of a focus on, say, noodling or shredding or like going super fast or doing something super technical or doing something super atmospheric. It's like hardcore is just like more about like the energy than even the music, I would say. Yeah. And I feel like that's what really draws people to hardcore. Especially it's like you hear it, it's like, oh, this is cool. But like once you actually see it live, that's when it really clicked. You know what I mean? That's like when it clicks for people. And I feel like it's a little bit different from metal. It's like you can hear metal and be like, oh, this is my fucking shit, and never go to a show. You know what I mean? And that's sick in its own right. You know what I mean? But it just lends for a different like vibe, and I guess songwriting especially. I think a lot of the people that come from hardcore don't think about the composition, because I would think about our composition of our songs more in the sense that it's like not as like much riff salad, just like riff. But I just think that it's more like, okay, like I think this part has done its job. Like let's move on instead of like, it's little differences like that, like I think here and there. And honestly, truth be told, if you really look at it, like the amount of hardcore musicians that go on, not just metal, but like pop music and all sorts of shit. And it's just like, there's something about a sensibility of trying to write a simple, catchy song that translates to other genres. Cause it's kind of hard to write like a really good, simple song, like just that already hasn't been written. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like pretty difficult, so props to, I think a lot of songwriters, especially the better ones in hardcore, don't get a lot of credit because it's like, oh, it's so simple and all this stuff. But I think there's an approach that, hardcore kids probably take a little bit differently than maybe someone who's coming from a little bit of a different background,
I definitely agree. Like looking at it from a more simple, because you guys aren't playing like the most technical, death metal around, but it's like catchy. It's dynamic, which is a big thing for me. I love dynamic music and like when the energy kind of flows, and it's just fun to fucking listen to. Like that's what it's about, playing fun music, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's my whole thing with this band. It's just like, it's gotta be like fun. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've always said that I'm pretty selfish with the writing because like we all just write because it's like, okay, well, if we're the ones having to play this and practice it and listen to it, it's got to be something that we like and it's fun to play. And so it's like, I'm not really trying to write to cater to what someone might think is like in, or someone might, I don't know, what is like people think you should be playing or whatever the fuck. It's just like, I'm just going to do what we continue to do. Like,
right.
You know, it's just simple. Like, it's fun. Like, I'm a straightforward guy. I don't know if you can tell. Like, it's just like what you see is what you get. And I feel like that's just kind of us as a band too.
For sure. Yeah. That's what it's about. Like, just make music for yourself and then other people will enjoy it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Trey, I really appreciate you coming on, hanging out. It's been a really fun time. I know we went off on some tangents, but I think going off on tangents means that you get along with people. That's basically what it is, because it's just easy to talk about shit. I just have one last question before we go. Yeah. Usually I ask, what's your favorite city for beans and breakdowns? But I'm gonna take the beans section out and we'll say, what is your favorite city for breakdowns?
I mean, I'm biased. I gotta say, I guess Dallas, but Texas as a whole, I gotta rap Texas hardcore. I feel like there's just something just a little different that's cooking down here, whether it's just like death metal, hardcore, grindcore, punk, hardcore. There's a little something for everyone. And, you know, everyone's doing their thing. And even like just pop music or whatever type indie music, like there's bands that are taking off from Texas that are like, you know, getting really popular and getting really recognized, and obviously the hip hop thing as well. So yeah, it's just, you know, the States creatively, I feel like is a little bit undersold because of the politics of this state. Everyone kind of thinks everyone here is just a dumb bumblefuck idiot, but this is a very diverse, like very, you know, talented, creative state full of people, you know, like it just is, you know, whether it's Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, El Paso, you know, down south, the Valley, Corpus Christi and all them, like
even West Texas.
Yeah, dude, it's like
bring West Texas into that.
yeah. So like there's a little something for everyone here, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, I said it earlier, I'm a big Texas fan. Some of my favorite memories are from being able to visit Houston and San Antonio, and most of my favorite bands.
The food.
Oh, bro, the food. Don't even get me started on that barbecue, man.
Oh, barbecue Mexican food.
Yeah, well, that's I got the best because my wife is from Mexico and then grew up in Texas. So I've got like the best combination that there is. So yeah, man, whenever we go to Houston, we grub out. I got to like prepare for it mentally. But even some
bring the sweatpants.
That's right. I got to like go on a fast before I get down there so I don't gain a bunch of weight. But some of my favorite bands, especially from the Dallas area, like Kubla Khan, they've been killing the game for years. And I feel like they haven't really gotten the amount of recognition that they deserve. But it seems like they're kind of, you know, coming up a bit more. But even like I've talked to Brandon from they're a super original sounding band that nods to a lot of different, you know, sounds and genres that I feel like they're kind of underrated too. But
exactly. Both those bands you named are like, you know, the homies too. Like Tom, I know Tom's a huge Black Sabbath fan. He's a huge Metallica fan, Megadeth fan. He's taking all of these things and adding it to heavy hardcore, heavy, you know, whatever you do, where you call it. And then like me and Nolan, actually, Kubla Khan's guitar player, we went to high school together. We sat together at lunch and everything. Like, so he's the homie. Like it's just like everyone in Texas, there's just such a closeness and a tight knit group, and everyone's pulling for each other and rooting for each other. So it's pretty sick.
Yeah. Some of the even original, like what you're saying, like Unity TX, I feel like it's going to kind of blow up, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. Jay's my homie too.
Yeah,
like me and Jay go way back, dude.
Everybody in that Texas scene is like all close knit. It makes me so jealous because I I think you've said it on another interview before, but like Texas, you can tour in Texas. Like every city is at least 2 to 3 hours apart, which is a normal city distance. Like, you know, you'd play maybe Charleston and Jacksonville or Charlotte and Jacksonville. That's like a 6-hour drive. You can do that in Texas. No problem.
Yeah, exactly. And the cities are bigger than, you know, Charlotte and Jacksonville. It's like we have, you know, 5 of the top 25 biggest cities in the whole country in one state. So it's like you can really hit some serious A markets just in the state and go home. So it's we're pretty lucky in that sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Trey, really appreciate you coming on again. Wish you guys all the best on this upcoming tour.
Thank you.
I wish you guys were coming to Montreal, but it's going to be difficult. So I will have to catch you on the next one. Yeah, man.
At some point. Hopefully. So in May, you know, obviously May is a long time, but we're playing Modified Ghost Fest in Vancouver. I know that's on the other side of the country, but I think it's encouraging that we still have something technically booked in Canada. So I think in the future that we will absolutely be back. And I love Montreal. I always have a good time there. So all of our shows there are bonkers. So shout out to Montreal. Even when we were like a band that nobody really knew or gave a shit about, we had a sold out show with Fuming Mouth at some like clothing shop. And it was like,
oh,
badass.
Yo, that was, it's like Lopez or something like that.
Yeah. Yo,
I had just moved to Montreal and I didn't even know about that show. And literally a few months ago, one of my friends was like, oh yeah, I saw Creeping Death and Fuming Mouth in the basement of that store. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was honestly one of the most fun shows of like the whole band. So shout out to Montreal. Hopefully we can be back sooner rather than later, for sure.
Yeah, man, for sure. We're just trying to stay as safe as possible so we can get all this shit reopened. But well, enjoy the rest of your Saturday or Sunday. And
time, right?
don't I can't talk about it anymore. But man, y'all be safe on the road.
All right. Thank you, bro.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's been a great conversation. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beans and Breakdowns. I want to say a huge thanks to Trey for coming on the podcast to hang out with me, even though he's not a coffee person, but he's definitely a metal and hardcore person. So we definitely had a lot to talk about. Make sure to check out The Edge of Existence from Creeping Death, their latest release. It's an EP, and also there's a video out. Also, be sure to check out some merch. Support them in any way that you can on their upcoming tour. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. You can also learn more about the podcast on Instagram at Beans and Breakdowns or on the web at beansandbreakdowns.com. Until next week, stay caffeinated and wake the fuck up!